Hello, everyone. This is Samiling, your OLC, and welcome to the J course Understanding the Self. So, after this discussion, as learners, you are expected to first define learning, second, know the three basic types of learning, then, third, learn the qualities of a successful student. Then lastly, learn how to become better students. So today class, we will be discussing all about learning to be a better student. Now, what is learning? So when we say learning class, it is an adaptive function wherein the nervous system is changed by stimuli in the environment, creating behavioral responses that permits people to function in the environment or society. So when we say adaptive function, it means that as humans, we tend to adopt things from our environment. Isn't it that when you place somebody in a certain environment, then this person or this human being would simply just adopt, okay, from his or her environment. So we are learning from our environment. That is what is meant by learning here, wherein all the parts of our body would simply just adapt, okay, and be able to be changed by the forces around us, or what we call the stimuli from our environment. It could be from the trees, from the plants, from the wind, what else? Everything from the people around us, from the animals. Okay, so everything around us can be a stimuli, even the sounds. Okay, anything can be a stimuli wherein everything in us could be changed, especially the nervous system wherein our brain is the core of the system, wherein we are adapting, we are learning from all these things from our environment. Okay, so that is what is meant by learning. And another thing, it's a change in knowledge or behavior that arises out of our experiences. So, learning is a change. So, what you know before, that that knowledge, okay, that understanding that you know before could be the same, or it could be there are just information, knowledge, understanding that would be added into this stagnant information that you have already known before. So everything is changing when it comes to our knowledge, when it comes to our behavior. The way we behave when we were still young is changing as we grow, as we become adults, since we are becoming more mature. And even in knowledge, we become mature in terms of understanding. And there are more and more knowledge added up to what we already know. So it's not constant that what you know before is the same thing that you know today. Okay, but it could be. However, there are already changes, right? There are already additional knowledge, understanding to what you already know before. So that is what is meant by learning. That's why it's a continuous process that we learn from our environment, from other people, that we learn from our own experiences. That is learning. Now, here are the types of learning. The first one, we have classical conditioning, which was introduced by Ivan Pavlov. Now, when I say classical conditioning, this is the process by which we learn to associate stimuli, events, or actions that frequently happen together. So that is what is meant by classical conditioning. So in other words, there are forces There are events, certain actions, or stimuli, wherein all these things, we tend to associate them to a certain idea. And you call that as classical conditioning. Now, let's take this as an example. So, this was the study of Pavlov, or the application of what we call the classical conditioning, wherein they made use of this theory to apply to the dog and to observe how the dog would respond, okay, to their applications. Now, on the first box, or what we call the before conditioning, you can see there that there is this unconditioned stimulus, which is the chicken. So when you say unconditioned, so nothing is connected, no force, no stimuli or stimulus, okay, is connected or related with this chicken. And then we have the dog. Isn't it that when you show the chicken to the dog, okay, then the dog would eventually salivate. Okay, so that is the unconditioned response, because that's the natural response coming from the dog, that when they see food, they would salivate. So that was the first, okay, or that is before conditioning. Okay, that's according to this theory, classical conditioning. Then another, okay, on the second box, before conditioning. So there's already the use of bell, or what we call the neutral stimulus. So you hide the chicken and you show or you ring the bell. Of course, there will be no response from the dog. There will be no salivation since the stimulus is neutral. Okay, there's no food that would make the dog salivate. So that was their first application. And then on the third box, there is already the combination of the ringing of the bell and the showing of the chicken, okay, to this dog. And they observe that the dog salivate upon seeing the chicken, and at the same time, there's ringing of the bell. So they did that as a series of application to their theory, as to observe how this dog would respond to the stimuli. And then after conditioning, they already hide the chicken and then just continued with the ringing of the bell. So they continued with this bell without the chicken. And they observed that the dog is salivating. They observe that the dog is responding to the ringing of the bell even without the chicken. How is that? Okay, how is that possible? It's because the dog was already conditioned that when he hears, or when the dog hears the sound coming from the bell, the ringing of the bell, then it means that there would be food. So even without seeing yet the food, because that is a stimuli that there's food, there's chicken, then the dog would salivate or respond, okay, to that stimulus. So you see, that is how they were able to come up with this classical conditioning, wherein we can also apply this to humans, okay, wherein our behavior or how we respond to stimuli around us, okay, can be conditioned. We can also be conditioned. Okay, although I can say that our difference with the animals would be the free will. Okay. Now that is classical conditioning. Okay, we're in. Okay, there is this conditioning when it comes to the behavior, okay, of the dog using the bell and the chicken. Now, how about operant conditioning? So this was introduced by Edward Thorndike. Now, when you say operant conditioning, there's this strengthening or extinguishing of a response happens when behaviors, so the strengthening or extinguishing, okay, would happen when behaviors are reinforced or punished. So there is this reinforcement, there is punishment in order for this behavior to be strengthened, in order for this animal maybe, okay, if they also made use of animal actually, then that's how they were able to come up with this operant conditioning, wherein they made use of reinforcement or what we call reward or even punishment. Okay, so let's see how they were able to do this later on. Now let's continue. Now this was also okay a use by B.F. Skinner. Okay, so B.F. Skinner is also known for operant conditioning or for the use or theory of operant conditioning. So when we say operant conditioning for B.F. Skinner, it is a response, okay, or this is wherein a response can be strengthened. So quite the same, right? Or extinguished through the rewards or punishments of a behavior. Okay, that is why it's called operant. So it's like you are operating, okay? It's like you are really doing something, okay, to reinforce or to punish so that the behavior would be operated. Okay, so that's operant conditioning. Now let's take this as an example. Although this was according to their theory or the application already of the operant conditioning. So this is how they were able to come up with operant conditioning. So they made use of this box and then they placed this rat or the mouse, and then there would be buttons, okay, or anything wherein okay the mouse okay would be allowed to finally eat the food inside that box, okay, or it could be to for the rat, okay, or for the mouse to okay to be punished. Okay, so we have here operant conditioning. There are specific consequences, okay, are associated with a voluntary behavior. So the consequences, the result, okay, would come from how the rat or the mouse would behave inside the box. So definitely the mouse or the rat would just simply run, right? Would continue running, okay, and trying to find a place to or a hole maybe, although it's enclosed, okay, trying to find a way for the rat to escape. Okay, so usually that's how the rat would behave inside the box. So just continue moving and running just to escape. Although there's this box we're in, okay, it would open if the right button is pushed or if the right okay whatever it is that the mouse okay has to top, okay, that would allow the box to be opened and then there would be food for this rat. Okay, so when the rat keeps on moving, eventually the rat would accidentally push okay this button or just simply uh, top something inside the box that would allow him okay to either okay be punished or it could be to be rewarded, which is the opening of the box and allowing him or allowing the rat to eat the food inside that box. Okay, so that's how they were able to do this operant conditioning. Okay, so until such time that when the rat was already conditioned that when I tap this, okay, when I tap this way, then there would be food. The box would open and there would be food. Okay. And when I tap it the wrong way or when I push it the wrong way, then there would be punishment. Okay. Or I would be I would there's something that would happen to me. Okay. Or there's punishment. Right. So that is operant conditioning. So that's how they were able to apply this theory of operant conditioning when it comes to the behavior of the rat, okay, or which could also be applied, of course, which can also be applied to humans. Okay, although they made use of this rat and then the other one, they made use of the dog. Now, how about observational learning? Now, in observational learning, so this was introduced by Albert Bandura, it's learning through observation, and it happens by observing, okay, by merely observing the behaviors of others and imitating the said behaviors, even without reinforcement. So again, when say reinforcement, it could be a punishment or reward, right? So there's no reinforcement here. So in observational learning, from the word observation, so from this theory, we can say that we can also learn from observation by simply observing and imitating other people, okay, according to how they behave. So that's observational learning from Bandura. Now let's take this as an application on how they were able to come up with this observational learning, which is the use of the Bobodal, okay, or what we call the Bobodal experiment done by Bandura, okay, by Bandura. Okay, so we're in through this Bobodal. Okay, they applied this to certain group or groups, I should say, of not students, kids, I should say. Okay, group of children, very young children, maybe aging from 3 years old, 4 years old, 6 years old, or even higher, although I guess up to 6 or 7 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So very young children. Okay, so there's this group of children wherein they would have this role model, male, female, adults, okay, that would portray certain behaviors, okay, in front of these kids, okay, that would allow them to observe and allow the children to, of course, they might imitate, right? Since that's what they observe. And there's this group of children also, same ages, wherein there's no model or role model that would allow them to observe or imitate. Okay, so that's how they were able to do it. And then there's also this group of children wherein there would be role model adults, okay, that would show them behaviors, but they wouldn't be showing aggressive behavior. So they will just be very quiet and peaceful in terms of how they would respond or react to the toys inside the room. But on the first group of children, okay, the role models, the adults, okay, would show them, okay, the aggressiveness of behaviors that they would do something, okay, to destroy or do something on the toys inside the box. So they would show aggressive behavior, violence maybe. So based from that theory or application of the theory or their study, they were able to arrive with a conclusion that the group of children having role models showing them aggressiveness of behavior, they actually imitated. Okay, so these children, okay, most of them, they imitated the behavior, the aggressiveness of behavior, and then started punching the bobodal, okay, inside this room. And then the group without a role model, so they just naturally acted how they were before. So they were just playing nicely with the toys inside the room. And then with this group of children, wherein the role models are behaving well, so they're also doing the same thing. They're also behaving and playing well with the toys. So you see, that's how they were able to apply this observational learning. So they arrive with the conclusion that we can also learn from observation. All right, so here are the qualities of a successful student. So having learned all those theories of learning, the different types of learning that we can be rewarded, we can be punished on how we are going to behave, and we can use reinforcements, okay, to kids for them to learn. Okay, although I guess in some ways we are applying that, right, for learning. And then also the use of role model. Isn't it that children, they tend to look up to adults and what they see, they would just imitate. So we are learning from observing and imitating. So here are then the qualities, okay, on how to become a successful student. So first, knowing our priorities. Okay, so as a student, your priority class is to study. That's your number one priority. That's why from the word student, okay, we have there the word study. Okay, student, study. So that's your priority. Then second, be punctual. Okay, so I'm glad that everybody's here. Okay, so be early. It's good that we are early because we tend to do a lot of things, right? And we can be able to finish them all on time when we are punctual. Then be honest. Yes, be honest even if others are not, even if they cannot, even if they won't, even if they did not, or they will not in the future. Still, okay, let's be honest. Then stay focused. Is this is your priority? Focus on this. Is this is what you need to do now? Focus on this. Avoid any distraction like the social media we're in. Okay, they would just simply waste our time, right? Anyway, okay, that can also be a stress reliever in some ways, but please, you should still know your priorities. There should be time for the social media and the time for you to study. Then set achievable incremental progress. Okay, so make sure that you are monitoring your progress when it comes to your studies. Oh, this subject, I'm already done with this. Then I'm going to do this one and this one. Then get excited. Okay, so whenever you have your visits, I hope that you're a bit excited. Okay, so be excited. Okay, just be happy that, wow, okay, I'm already learning online. Okay, I'm learning things. Now, I have here a question, okay, for you to answer later on. So there will be discussion later. How do you learn things? All right, so let's continue with that on the question. Okay, again, the question is, how do you learn things? Again, how do you learn things? Okay, so there are theories, right? Types of learning, but of course, we have our own personal learning styles on how we learn things. So I would like to know how you are learning things on your own, or how do you learn things? So for us to end this discussion, I have here a quote from Aristotle, and he said that the roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. Isn't it that when you're still starting to study, get in school, learning things, there are really struggles. Okay? It's really difficult. It's not that easy, right? Although the fruit is sweet. So when you graduate, when you have already your diploma, your transcript, then that is really sweet because you have already something that you can hold on to. You have already something that can never be taken away from you, which is education. That finally you can be proud of yourself that you were able to finish your studies, your education, that you were able to achieve something great in your life, which is education. That's how that's why we can say that it's sweet, although the beginning of it or the roots of it is quite bitter, or the roots are bitter. Okay, so finally, at least when you graduate, you can find a job that would be suitable for you and be able to earn not only for yourself, but even for your loved ones. All right, so I do hope that you have learned many things from our topic, how to be a successful student. Okay, and thank you so much for listening.